Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Payne.
And good morning. Well, actually, it's good noon. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show syndicated called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. Every Tuesday at naturally high noon, broadcasting out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, on UBN Radio TV, Universal Broadcasting Network, and then every Saturday at 2 on my syndicated CNBC, NBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere on iHeartRadio. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So, no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all, because I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have guests and topics to that end. If you missed any of my past shows, Layla Ali is a fabulous guest from the past, and also Corey Feldman, his beautiful wife Courtney, and as well as Marianne from Gilligan's Island, Potsy from Happy Days, and all of this is on my YouTube. So you can also get my red carpet interviews with John Paul DiGiorio, who is the tequila and Paul Mitchell billionaire, as well as Halle Berry, John Travolta, and Rick O'Berry. I haven't mentioned. It's a great, great show. He zoomed in from Taiji, Japan. If any of you watched the show The Cove or Blackfish, he is the #1 dolphin activist who is trying to stop the slaughter of dolphins in Japan. So if you missed any of those, please free subscribe on my YouTube channel, and that way you can watch them. Also, peace in, peace out at the top of the show. As per usual, I wanted just to say thank you, shishya, to all the fabulous people that I met this week. First of all, in my book signings, had one on Saturday, 3 readings at the Barnes & Noble Marina Pacifica, which was fabulous. I made the staff picks wall. And then I had a great time at this really beautiful love gathering at Piper Dellum's house. Past guest here, great show. You need to get that one as well. She brought California Poet Laureate, Berkeley Poet Laureate Rafael Gonzalez, who's also head tribe in Texas, the Chihuahua tribe, just in time for the Indigenous Peoples Day. That was yesterday, and that was amazing. And then they all came to Agape to support my book signing there, which was incredible. And I'm just so grateful for all of the fabulous people that I get to rub shoulders and hug and do a lot of stuff with. Also, I would like to give an excellent customer service shout out, because I like to balance the complaining that goes on everywhere with highlighting what is good. And Isaac at Staples and BJ at the Barnes & Noble Marina Pacifica get the award this time. I'm super pleased this week to have a guest who I have gotten to rub shoulders with and speak on stages with for several years. I meant to count how many years I've actually had the pleasure of flashing peace with him at almost every event. I think I met him at the first event, was a Secret Knox, like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was just amazed because he's so young. I think he's, what do we say? He's a millennial grandfather or a grandfather millennial, but he is the grandfather of possibilities. He's a sought-after sought after speaker all over the world, an ordinary man who accomplishes extraordinary things, whose innovative ideas have changed the world. He's the inventor of the magnetic strip on the credit card validity checking system, and the developer of computerized systems for MLS, real estate multiple listing services, the voice response for the banking industry. And Ron, I'm going to have to talk to you about that because that's one of your inventions I'm not thrilled with. And then the bond quotation and trade information for the New York Stock Exchange. We're also going to be so blessed to be talking about his latest invention after the break, so you'll have to stay tuned. It is absolutely, I'm so excited when I started reading about it. And thank you, Arlene, his beautiful wife. I wanted to do a piece in, piece out for managing his life and helping him be the fabulous person that he is. And I know how much, well, I don't know how much, but I know you do a lot of work, and I wanted to appreciate you on the air for sure. He is a problem solver, and every solution has resulted in monumental change, either in a new invention or a simple solution. He's a strategic advisor, consultant, mentor, problem solver, and speaker. And I'm proud to say, my friend. Please welcome to the studio, Ron Klein.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction, Dr. Marissa. There's nothing left for me to say. I've got 45 minutes to talk, and you said it all. My God, thank you so much.
No, of course. I'm just so delighted that we finally got this together, and especially since the likelihood of me going dark soon, and with the book tour and not enough time, I went and switched schedules to make sure I got you, just so you know how special you are.
Well, I'm honored to be your last interviewer.
Yes.
But I do want to make one correction.
Okay.
You said I was a senior grandfather. I call myself a senior millennial.
A senior millennial. That is
Millennial,
yes.
Because
I like
hang
that.
out with all those young people, and I'm a good listener. I just don't hear. So I learned so much from them because they explained to me the whole secret about the millennials today. They said that goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds, but those who are millennials have an attention span of 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you've got something of value to say, you better get it out for the first 8 seconds. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to the rest.
Absolutely. So let me go back to the first time you actually felt like, okay, I'm going to be an inventor. Did that happen? Like, did you have a moment in your life when you were growing up when you went, oh, I think I'm going to be an inventor? How did that happen?
Well, it happened at around age 4.
Oh.
I think that's when I really discovered it, because I was raised during the Depression years.
Mm-hmm.
I was, by the way, I'm 83 years old, so that'll give you an idea as to how long I've been around. But we didn't have much money at the time, and there was hard times. And my greatest play toys was a roll of masking tape and cardboard. And from that, I became extremely creative. I made my own toys. And then for special occasions, for my birthday, I would get a ball of string. So that's how I knew I was going to be an inventor someday, because I didn't have much material to work with.
Wow. And what was your first invention? What was, besides the toys, what was your first invention that you could actually make money from? Because that's just the measure, like it's money energy.
Well, I studied as a commercial artist when I was in high school and vocational school. I had great talent for graphics, and I did some airbrush and some different mediums that I used as a commercial artist. And after I went into the service, I was drafted during the Korean War. After I came out of the service, I really loved electronics. And that's when I took advantage of the GI Bill.
Right.
And I was able to go to college under the GI Bill and really became extremely creative. So the first invention I really came up with to make money was when I worked for a major company developing low and frequency electrical systems. And then after I went on my own, then I got into the credit card, and et cetera, et cetera. So
Right.
they were the things that actually generated revenue for me and gave me the ability to understand customer relationship, not just the technical aspect of working with technical people and being technical myself, but working with people that had requirements, consumers, and people like that. And I had the great appreciation for let's solve the problem first before we make widgets and gadgets.
Right, right. So that's where your problem solving eye. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I get to talk to today, it is Ron Klein, also known as the grandfather of possibilities. And do we have that YouTube from the Huffington Post? I was hoping we would get to see that one, but we'll have that queued up because it does talk about the credit card and how you did that, which I think is really super fascinating. But I also want to ask you, so if there's people who have bright ideas, so I think the MLS listing, when I first saw that you had done that, I remember in college saying to myself, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to put into some box that said, I want a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, and instead of having to look at all of the different ads in the paper that said what was available, it would just like sort through. And I had that idea, and it wasn't in existence. But I didn't do anything with it. And I know I'm talking to the
Marissa.
I should have. But it probably had already existed. I just didn't see it or was in the making. But for people who have these bright ideas and they think, wow, what do you tell them to do? Like what's your advice on how to take that product not product, but an idea into something that actually might be successful?
Well, I have two main philosophies that are very general, and then we can specifically get into that.
Okay.
First of all, I say that you have to reduce everything to simplicity. You have to say, what's the given that I'm working with for a solution, and what is the goal that I'm looking for? And everything else in between is really the minutia. It's the journey.
Okay.
So you don't want to start in the middle. You want to establish, what am I working with? What do I have? And what's the goal I'm seeking?
Right.
And then I summarize it by saying you've got to be three things, and I'll do it with my hands.
Okay.
You've got to be smart, daring, and different. And when I say smart, I don't mean a PhD from Harvard University or something like that. I'm saying be aware, learn something new every day, listen to and just know what's going on in the world around you. And then to be daring, don't be afraid of mistakes, because if you're not making mistakes, you're really not learning anything. And I say in a simple way, if you painted something wrong the first time and you painted it the wrong color, paint it a different color. There's only A. Just keep painting it until you're satisfied.
Yeah.
And then the most important thing in success is to be different. Don't try and sell ideas, sell benefits.
Great.
So to answer your question, something has to be novel. It has to solve a problem and a challenge, and it has to provide a benefit.
Beautiful.
They're the things you look at first. If it provides a benefit and if it's novel and it's an improvement, it's worth pursuing.
Fabulous. Fabulous. And we are queued up. Thank you, Ryan. We're going to play a little Huffington Post.
The statistics today talk about
Great.
9 million credit cards that are in existence just here in the U.S. When I hear those kind of numbers, I almost have to be apologetic. I grew up right out of the Depression, and I was just a very, very inquisitive kid, very inventive, coming up with all my own toys. By the time I turned 18, the Korean War was on, I was drafted, and after I came back from the service, people were making what they called charge purchases. They would come in with their credit card, which had an embossed number on it, and the merchant would have to look up that credit card number on a long list of negative account numbers that they were given every month by the credit card companies. Right around that time, reel-to-reel tape recorders came out, and I figured, I've got a great idea. If I could take a piece of tape and record the account number on that piece of tape, paste it on the back of the piece of plastic, and build a device that mimics a tape recorder, so that if I inserted the card and pulled it out rapidly, it could possibly work, and it did. And that was the invention of the magnetic tape on the back of the credit card. I was delighted when I saw all the problems it solved amongst all the department stores in which we installed it. Never made tons of money off the patent, but I made tons of money when I came up with lots more ideas and inventions with the development of the nutrition system to raise chickens in 8-week period, the development of MLS, multiple listing service for the real estate industry, the development of voice response for the banking industry, which eventually took me into the New York Stock Exchange, and I was there for over a quarter of a century developing things for the exchange. My nickname and what I'm known for is I'm the grandfather of possibilities, and that's me. If I had my life to live over again, I would want it to be exactly the same way. A good friend of mine always said, Ron, make sure you live life to the fullest, and when you go, make sure you go empty. The life of credit cards may be coming to an end at some point because we live in a world of obsolescence. However, we've had great longevity of the magnetic strip on the credit card. I don't say weird, but I am different. I'm a free thinker, and I just do my thing, and I don't worry about what people think. That's my plight in life.
I love that clip. So when you're listening to it, what are you thinking when you see that?
I'm a rebel.
Yes, you are. And a wonderful rebel at that. You're just, I love the thing, like, don't go empty. I love that. I'm different. I like that. And you don't care what other people think. I think those two are answers to my earlier question too, is how do you continue to do the things that you do, is you really don't give a flying through a rolling donut what people say or think or how they react. You're doing something you love to do.
You know, Dr. Marissa, I'm hoping that that little video really gets a message across to your audience because, like I say, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not an inspirational speaker, but my stories should be able to inspire people.
Yeah.
And the message that that video gives is what I was saying before. What's the given? The given was to make a charge, what they called in those days a charge purchase. It was very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what the solution was, we wanted to speed things up. So they had to look through all those numbers in a book that the credit card companies gave every month. That was easy to solve that.
Yeah.
Just take all that stuff and put it into some kind of memory system.
Right.
And then the other problem was the burden of proof and the burden of credit to be awarded was on the wrong person. It was on the merchant. It should have been on the credit card companies. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, well, what can we give the merchant? Well, the interim was I gave the merchant a little keypad and I put all the stuff in memory and he would key in the account. And if it didn't come up in memory, the person was good to go. So that was the first point of sale. How simple that was. Mm-hmm. But then I said, wait, the burden is still on the merchant because he has to key the
numbers in.
And that's when the reel-to-reel tape recorders came out. And I said, well, geez, let me just take a little piece of that phenomena, the tape, put it on the credit card, and then the magic was make you the motor.
Right. So on
if you were there, you would have solved it the same way.
No, you give me way too much credit. You are different. You have a mind that sees possibilities, and that's why you're the grandfather of possibilities. But speaking of the credit card,
there's a gift behind every challenge.
Yes.
If you take problems and convert problems or frustrations.
Yeah.
But if you take that problem and turn it into a challenge, there's an opportunity or a gift behind every challenge.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. You're preaching to the choir on that one. But let's talk about the chip, because the chip looks like it is making the strip obsolete. However, I was in the audience when you were talking about this, and I haven't heard you say it. And by the way, I don't want you to argue with me. I want you to listen to me for 1 second. I'm sorry. You are a motivational speaker. You are an inspirational speaker, and I am not going to argue with you because I am always right, except when I'm not. And so whether you like it or not, that's what you do. You motivate people when you talk. That's what a motivational speaker is. So anyways, we're moving on.
Okay.
So, what's right and wrong with the chip? Why is the chip not necessarily going to make the strip obsolete?
Well, I'm not going to throw it under the bus, and I'm not going to speak terribly negative. I'm not a fan of the chip, and I'll just tell you why.
Yes.
Briefly.
Yes.
The chip does some very, very sophisticated algorithms and changing the pin number, does some wonderful things.
Yes.
However, the reason the magnetic strip survived all these years, I patented it in 1966, is because it does not require energy. Something that does not require energy does not radiate. Said chip is a mini computer. It has no power on it while it's sitting in your pocket or in your purse. However, when you take that chip and you slide it into the new machine that had to be designed to receive, the machine energizes that chip so it has intelligence. What happens when you energize a little chip? It becomes a transmitter. What happens to people who are sitting in line behind you that are not credible people and have a little scanner in their pocket, and they scan that little transmitter and compromise your information? Do I have to say any more?
Yes. And I know you don't want to say anything bad, but is that one of the reasons why fraud has gone up in credit cards? Would you say
there was never fraudulent transactions at the point of sale with the magnetic strip? It was always the middle or at the store.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now things can be compromised if you don't carry that credit card with a chip in it in a shielded envelope in your wallet or purse. I could come up behind you with a scanner, scan your wallet or purse, and steal your information.
Even if it's in a wallet with a bunch of other credit cards?
That's right, because I can energize it with a scanner.
And even if you haven't brought it out to put it in like just walking anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear. Okay. So because I thought all those advertisements for those sleeves and the wallets and the protector, I really thought it was gimmicky, but you're telling me it's not. So
well, the safest way and the cheapest way to really protect it is go home and wrap it up in a piece of tinfoil. And then put it back in your wallet, and it's safe.
It's safe. Is that safer than the sleeve?
Same
Same
thing.
thing. Okay, so you don't have to get the sleeve. So I have to take my whole wallet and wrap this whole thing in foil.
Just
is that okay?
No, just take the card and wrap it up. And,
but if I do this whole thing, and because I have like more than one card in here, so if I'm like looking around now. Is anybody scanning? Ryan, do you have a scanner? You have a scanner. So I mean, seriously, if I just put foil over this whole thing, it'll protect it?
Dr. Marissa, let's say this. That's only my opinion.
Okay. But still, but I'm
not
just
throwing
saying.
it under the bus.
Okay. All right. Next question. So,
Yes.
Any bumps in the road?
Oh.
Did you have? Okay, several.
Not bumps, collisions.
So tell me what actually they were to your motto. They weren't mistakes. They were learning, right?
Oh no, I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned from those mistakes.
Okay.
But I did some stupid things.
Okay, like.
Well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit of the story, and then stop me if we get close to a break.
Okay.
Because I've been known as a problem solver and I was doing real well, then people came to me to solve the problem of multiple listing. That was in 1967.
Yep.
And then voice response for banking. I came up with a great idea of what touch tone phones came out. And I said, geez, isn't it great if you can take the touch tone phone, key in your account number to the computer at the bank, and the bank says, okay, I got that information from the touch tone phone. Let's turn it into voice and let's send it back as voice information. So that was the voice response. And when I first invented it, it was very crude. So it sounded like a robot, this is a voice, that kind of thing. And then I synthesized it. And then I got into, and the company just kept growing and growing because in those days, software and wasn't really a big advocate of things to make happen. So everything was solved with electronics, parts, mechanical things, transistors and resistors and capacitors. So my company that I had started grew quite rapidly, and it was very large. I had engineers and draftsmen and manufacturing people. I was up to 125 employees, and I needed money. So I took the company through a private offering, raised some capital. Company was continuing to grow. I needed more money. I finally took the company public on the stock exchange and raised more millions of dollars to really grow rapidly. And then it was so well known that a major insurance company came to me and said, we like what we see. We want to acquire you and buy your company. And I was reaching retirement age then. I was 34 years old. So it was time to retire. I thought, and I came from a very wealthy family. My dad was a mailman and my mom worked in the department store. So
so sarcasm is another service you offer.
So I said, okay. And I sold the company and I figured, okay, I'm going to retire.
Yes.
Well, after fishing for 3 weeks, it wasn't me. I said, I've got to go back to work.
Yes.
But I knew that I didn't want something that was labor intensified with a lot of employees. I just wanted to do something. So I started a company with a very general name. And I said, I'll sell other people's products and be a sales rep until I discover what I want. Here's the important part of the story.
Okay.
I started going around trying to sell, calling on old accounts. And I called on a very major and large communication company that utilized communication gear. And I was trying to sell them a piece of communication modem. And while I was doing that, I saw on his desk a bid sheet from Western Union. And I said to him, Paul, what is this? And he said, well, being in the press business and being in the communication business, we use a lot of teletype equipment. Western Union provides that. They refurbish it. And we bid on it every week from their refurbished equipment. And right now we're so overstocked, we have no need for it. You're welcome to the bid sheet if you like. That action changed my life. So I rented a truck and I went 60 miles from my home in New Jersey where I was living to the central location and warehouse for Western Union. And I started bidding on these teletypes. And wow, it was great. I was bidding 50 cents on the dollar or less, and I was in the parts business. And then right around that time, teletypes became the product of choice for PCs. PCs were just being released at that time, personal computers, and IBM was using their Selectric typewriters because it had input-output capability. And the clone machines needed something else, and teletypes was the device of choice. Teletypes at that time was the mechanical email of the nation before the internet. It was like a typing telephone. Where you would dial up. So, and they were used religiously, and that was fantastic. And I was in business. I took them home. Here's the funny part of the story.
Okay.
I took them home into my basement, cleaned them up, washed them up. I bought a little compressor from a gas station to blow them dry. And then I had mineral spirits and I was spraying them and I was making them like new. Of course, the stink from the mineral spirits permeated through the house, through the heat vents.
Arlene was not happy.
Arlene was saying, I can't stand this. And the magic was one day, and then I would finish them and put them in my garage and advertise. One day a gentleman came to buy a teletype and he said, excuse me, can I use your men's room? I said, this is my home. I don't have a men's room. We have a powder room. And I said, but you're welcome to use it. He went, used the powder room, came back out, completed the sale. He left. 5 minutes later, Arlene came running out to the garage. And she did it this way. You take your teletypes, you take your compressor, you take your mineral spirit, you take the rest of your junk, get the hell out of this house. That guy had lousy aim. With that, I opened up a little shop somewhere and took my teletypes and parts business. So now I'm in the parts business. I hired a mechanic to fix the teletypes and do that.
That's
Now
hilarious.
here's the major mistake I made.
Okay. I thought the impending divorce was going to be the mistake, but that's
No.
okay.
Well, Western Union called me and said, Ron, how would you like to bid on 12,000 old teletype machines? Because we're going into the satellite business and we're liquidating all that old stuff that was used on the battleships during the Second World War.
Uh-huh.
And it's very heavy. And I said, I'd love it.
Yep.
I ran down there. I bid pennies for these machines.
Yep.
And I wasn't very smart. Nobody else was bidding. Of all the people that would normally bid, nobody bid on these machines.
Uh-huh.
Just me. And I
Okay.
figured, uh-oh,
Yep.
I won 12,000 machines.
Oh.
6,000 I'm sorry, 4,000 were in a warehouse close to where they were manufacturing them,
Right.
which was only 60 miles from my home.
Mm-hmm.
The other 8,000 machines were all over the country, California, Chicago, Texas. And they said, now you understand, Ron, you have to take possession of all these machines within 30 days. They weighed hundreds and hundreds of pounds. They were built in the 40s, in the 30s. They were old iron horses, and they were used on battleships. And I figured, uh-oh, I didn't win teletypes. I bought a liability.
Yes.
And I had a major problem because otherwise, where they were, I would have been sued by those people for not picking them up.
Right.
So what did I do? I simplified the problem. And by simplifying the problem is I called the junk man. And the junk man came and said, okay, Ron, he spoke with an accent. Let's see what you have.
Mm-hmm.
He opened up the bottom of these machines. They had printers and keyboards and paper tape punches. But in the bottom, they were loaded with electronics, printed circuit cards. And they were manufactured in such old times that they were manufactured with gold traces. Because gold that had great conductivity.
Right,
and they did
right,
a bunch
right.
of things to rust out on the ships.
Mm.
The junk man said, Ron, let's take all these circuit cards, submerge them in the cyanide bath, and the cyanide will eat the gold up and bring the salts to the surface. We'll skim it off and we'll sell it and we'll trade trade and make a deal. You get 50% of the cash. I get 50% of the cash. Let's do it. We were so rich in cash. We were fat in cash because in that year,
I'm still waiting for the mistake. There's no mistake here.
What happened then was gold went from $35 an ounce to $700 an ounce. So we were fat in cash.
I bet.
So I got out of that one. But now I had 8,000 pieces of junk with no electronics. Couldn't work. All they were was old parts and keyboards and things. I couldn't afford to move them. I called the junk dealer back. And I said, what am I going to do? He said, let's see what we got. He said, well, the printers and the keyboards and all that stuff, nobody has a need for that unless you're going to start sorting out the parts. He said, but the cabinets are steel and they're very rich in chromium. I said, so what? What's chromium? He said, well, a major manufacturer of automobiles, foreign cars, this was in the early 70s, just shipped their cars over here to the U.S. and they don't have enough chromium in their steels. They're having a serious rust problem. Let's get a hold of them. Let them take all of this stuff for nothing. You no longer have the liability.
So there's still no mistake in this. And we do have to take a quick break, and we will be back. And
More stories.
yes, and I'm sure I'm waiting that the junk man is now your best friend and business partner. But we'll find out when we return after we take a visit with those wonderful sponsors who make this show possible. If you would like to be a sponsor in this show, please do contact me because I'm all about promoting you and hope and happiness. So we'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace in and peace out. That's world peace through inner peace. Okay, jazz lovers, it's time to celebrate with a Catalina Island weekend getaway with jazz greats like Richard Elliott, Keiko Matsui, Dan Siegel, Peter White, and Baja. Don't miss the 32nd Jazz Tracks Festival at the beautiful Avalon Casino on Catalina Island, 2 weekends in October, 11th through the 14th and 18th through the 21st. Tickets are selling out fast, so go to jazztracks.com. That's jazztracks with an X.com today. Want to believe in the American dream again? Then read the book, The $2 American Dream by speaker, coach, and entrepreneur Riyadh Hamdi. Arriving from Tunisia with only $2 in his pocket and one English word, job, Riyadh inspires hope in this true story of his journey in America. Learn what he did, said, and dreamt to make it in America and how you can too. Get the book at riyadhamdi.com. That's RIADHHAMDI.com today. We are back, and you are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon, broadcasting out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, with UBN Radio TV, Universal Broadcasting Network, and then every Saturday at 2 on my NBC syndicated talk radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere, anytime on iHeartRadio. And today, I have a very special guest. His name is Ron Klein. He is the grandfather of possibilities. He's invented, everyone has touched one of his inventions in one way or the other. And we have him here today. We've covered magnetic strips on credit cards and MLS. I do want to say that the one invention that I really wish you had not invented is the automatic banking response, or any kind of response where you call and you cannot get a live person and you get a machine that you have to listen to all the menu options, which none of them work, and then you hit 0 and it takes you back to the menu, and then you hit another number and it takes you another place. And by the time I actually talk to someone, I'm so ticked off that I am like the poor customer service person. It's not their fault. And then I'll say, if you want a little feedback from a user, it's really very annoying to use your system. And every single time they'll say to me, we've heard that before and we're sorry. And so it's created this, if I had $1 million to spare, I would automatically start any kind of a company that promises that when you call, you will get a voice of a person, and they will not switch you until they solve the problem. So I'm lodging a complaint for your invention.
I solved it already.
How?
How? Well, after I realized that it was very annoying, we decided not to do anything with banks anymore. And Arlene and I went and bought a shovel, and we went out in back of our house and dug a long trench, took all of our money and put it into ginger jars and mason jars and buried it out back. And then we never had to deal with the banks again. Solved the problem.
You didn't solve the problem for me.
You didn't buy the shovel.
No, I didn't, but I think I will. No, I'm teasing. But before we run out of time, I really want to talk about your newest invention, which is so beautiful. So I'll let you explain it.
Okay, I'll tell you real quick on that. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, but we'll just go over that, was when I automated the corporate bond market.
Yes.
And that was for corporate listed bonds. But let me tell you about my new invention.
Yes.
One day, Arlene and I have a very dear friend who was blinded at age 13. And he's a brilliant man. He's a PhD. He had very high positions. And Arlene sat on the board of a major national firm for animals, and he was the chairman of the board at the time. And one morning, I just sat down with him for breakfast, and I said, we were having breakfast together, and I said, Jim, you know what? You're brilliant. You've got ideas. We both know that we can send people on the moon, and I've invented things. But what's on your wish list? And he said, Ron, you know what? I wish there was something so simple that could that could help me with my daily life of things that come in touch with my clothing, my spices, my CDs, my prescription medications, and so forth, and just identify them in a simple way without having all this heavy paraphernalia that's available for the blonde to decipher what's what.
Mm.
I said, let me think about it. And I went home, and 2 weeks later, I came up with an idea of specially little coded labels using the QR codes, QR coded labels, but they were specially coded, and an app that you could take that label and paste it on anything you want. Your peanut butter jar, your clothing, your prescriptions in your medicine cabinet, and then point the phone at it and describe what's in that box or what's in that device. And then just anytime you point it, let's say if you open up your medicine chest and you have everything marked with a label, and you just scan your phone down the medicine chest, it will tell you which is your aspirin, which is your heart medication, and so on. And it worked. It worked great. And the labels are reusable. You can re-record. You can say when something's expiring. And the nicest thing is the app is free. And it's called, by the way, you can go to the website. It's called invisioneli.com. It's ENVISION, Eli, because Eli was the blind prophet that read the Bible in Braille. So we selected his name.
That's
Right.
so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yes. So ENVISION, Eli, ELI.com, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And here's what you can do. All of your audience can play around with it.
Yeah.
Because then we manufactured little labels, little stick-on labels that could fit in one's pocket, a little 100-label packet that it sells for like $20, and they're reusable. And what blind person wouldn't invest $20 with a free app just so they can identify their clothing
That
on
is
a hanger and
so
so on?
awesome. So there's my favorite invention right
But
there.
anybody can play around with it, because if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, just go on and say Envision Eli, download the app. The app it looks like a green eye with Braille in it saying ELI.
Okay.
Just download that and then go on the website, envisioneli.com, and say I want for the visually impaired, and there's a sample label that's programmable.
Right.
And you can use that over and over again. Just point the phone at it, follow the instructions,
That's
play
so
with
awesome.
If you come up with a good, innovative idea, I'll even help it. Let's say for somebody that wants to move from point A to B,
right,
and they start shoving a whole bunch of stuff in a box.
Oh.
They put a label in the box and just say, this is what's in the box. When
That's
you get
great.
to your new location and you got 100 boxes, you point your phone at it and it tells you what's in the box.
That's brilliant. And I am going to be using that because I'm moving next month. So there you go. Awesome. 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 I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So we are almost out of time. You did want to quickly talk about the MLS system?
Yeah, just quickly. Well, not the MLS, the bond system for the New York Stock Exchange, because that's where I really made all my money, and that's my claim to fame. So we now had 4,000 teletypes. I got a call from the New York Stock Exchange months later because a few hundred of those teletypes were special that were used on the trading floor of the exchange for inquiry stations. I leased them to them. I got a contract to maintain it. I was at the New York Stock Exchange every day in the maintenance business, maintaining my equipment. While I was there, I noticed that the corporate bond market was an auction market, guys throwing their hands up and down.
Right.
And I said, wait a minute, you automated the stock market. Why don't you automate the bond market? And they said, no, we've been doing it like this for 205 years.
Right.
They're not going to take it. I said, well, if I can build something simple and it works, will you give me an exclusive license? And they said, sure, because you'll never be able to do it.
Right.
I did it. It was a simple box. I tried to sell it at the exchange. Nobody would even listen to me.
Right.
If I tried to call the traders on the phone and offer them this deal, they would hang up on me if I wasn't buying or selling a bond. I gave the system away, ran a telephone line to the leading bond trader on Wall Street of the biggest firm. And I said, just use it for 30 days, free. He tried it. After 2 weeks, he was topping everybody's bond on the bond trading floor. And they called him. His phone rang off the hook, and they're saying, "Joe, what the heck are you doing? We can't buy a
Right.
bond. You're topping everything." And they said, "Oh, you need one of those little Ron Klein boxes." Needless to say, my market soared. I made millions of dollars.
That's
It was
awesome.
It was it provided transparency for a quarter of a century, and it traded at the New York Stock Exchange, American Stock Exchange, CBOE, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The treasuries.
Yep.
It was my biggest claim to fame on Wall Street.
There you go.
How
Awesome.
did I do
And
it? And I said that all in 5 minutes.
yes, less than 5 minutes, which
Wow,
is really good. So the
cool.
last question that I ask all of my guests is, well, I know I just got a message. Someone wants to know your address so they can go dig up your your ginger jars, but that won't be my last question. The
I'd
question
like them
is,
to go on my website because they see
I
all
would
these
like
videos
that.
and
I
everything.
would like that. So how do people find you?
Okay, the website is simple. It's www, the number 4, ronklein.com. That's RONKLEIN.
Right.
Now that points to the real website, which is the same, fatherofpossibilities.com.
Okay. So grandfatherofpossibilities.com, or
That's
just
really the
if you,
website,
yeah,
and 4 Ron Klein points to that.
right.
And
Beautiful.
That'll give them a little bit of entertainment.
Yeah,
Some
that would
things
be
you can use.
awesome. Yes.
Right.
Ron, for anyone who wants to know, is one of the most kind, accessible, friendly, service-oriented, wants to help you, doesn't want to make things difficult, wants to see everyone succeed. And for that, I am presenting him with Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award.
Thank you.
And not everybody gets that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the last question that you have to answer in 30 seconds is,
Yes.
what are you most grateful for?
My wife and my family, and the fact that I hope I'll never be a burden to anybody on this planet, and just be helpful.
And you are. Thank you so much, Ron Klein, grandfather of possibilities, for coming on my show. I love you. I love your wife, Arlene. Look forward to seeing you at another event. Yes?
Thank you, sweetheart. Love you.
Love
Thank
you
so
too.
much.
Bye. All right. And we are at the end of the show, where I invite you to step up to my balance bar. And we'll start with an Asian Oprah giveaway, $500 off. The Rock Your Mojo Women's Weekend is a 2.5-day immersion for women to uncover the power of who they really are. Deborah Kagan, who was kind to help me out on my launch day, reveals how women can easily generate more confidence, energy, and power. From there, women can create anything: more money, powerful relationships, better health, restful sleep, energized days, and more. So, if you go to Rock Your Mojo womensweekend.com, use the code Dr. Marissa, DRMARISSA, to check out and receive $500 off the full registration price. Available now through October the 12th. So don't say I don't give you anything. I am grateful to be made a regular columnist now in the Sun newspaper, which is cool. I was guest columnist. Also, I am asking you to support Asians. Why? I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese, and I absolutely believe in helping and supporting Asian women, because we are moving away from the traditional stereotype. I think our voices are important and need to be heard. And I met a wonderful woman who's doing that all the time in media. Her name's Kathleen Choi. I just nominated her and got her the award, Lotus Award from Asian Women Entrepreneurs. She turned around, actually before that, and has made me a star on Asian Voices Television, episode 8, which will be coming out on your cable station Friday, October the 19th. all the channels are different, so just Google it and look for Asian Voices, and then episode 8, Dr. Marissa Pei. She also had me ask my twin sister, Keiko Matsui, who's Japanese, so she'll also be on that show. You can also go to the YouTube channel Asian Voices TV. And she invited me to be on the advisory board of the Asian Culture and Media Alliance, which will be hosting the 5th anniversary gala for over 250 guests at the Encore Event Center in San Diego. It's a fundraiser for Asian media, scholarships, and more. And the theme this year is Oscars Red Carpet. I think there's something, the very pretty, colorful, yes, the purple one on the bottom. And that one, yes, is going to be Friday, November 30th. So please do go and support. I think that we're still looking for some sponsors to have a booth there. If you want to support Asian women, Asian media, Asians, period. We're not all rich, crazy Asians. We are balanced out. We want to do some great things on the planet. So please do help with that. Also, thanks to, and if you register, put happiness 18, and you will also get another Asian Oprah giveaway discount for that. Thank you to Purple Planet Music, who continues to help me with my commercials with their royalty-free music. If you're looking for that, they are your solution. Wish me luck this weekend. I will be racing with the Long Beach Yacht Club women's sailing team in the Lemwad, the Linda Elias Memorial One Design race regatta. We won first last year, so we're defending our championship. So you can wiggle your fingers and wish me the best this weekend as we race. And next week, we are delighted to invite Mark Demetrio. He's an award-winning author of the book Lessons from My Grandfather. So we're continuing on with the theme this month, where America is great. America is a wonderful place with dreams that come true and a diversity that comes from so many backgrounds, that we bring the richness of all backgrounds into this country. And so please do tune in next week for another great episode of Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pei. That's P for positive, EI. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out. That's world peace through inner peace.
Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
You make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting.